Hi, today I'm here with Robert Stuart, this year's Changemaker Legacy honoree. Robert, you've been serving the Central Florida community in many ways now for more than 25 years. You've been an advocate, an executive director, an elected official, a Sunday school teacher, a youth baseball umpire, and the list goes on. How did you find all the time to do this?
I don't know. Growing up, my mom always kept us busy, so it's just logical to kind of keep that way growing up. Uh, I found that I do things that I love, and I love spending time serving and doing in the community. Um, when you look at all the things I've done, I'm probably the best in umpiring, um, uh, and which probably has taught me a whole lot about how to run an organization as well as how to be an elected official. Uh, um, my wife says the same thing about me. How do you get a chance to do so much? And my answer is, I don't know, because in the midst of all that is a devotion to my family, which I never want to uh, to diminish. So I love doing it, um, and I love our community.
Well, we're all lucky for that because your fingerprints are all over this community. When you began your role as executive director for the Christian Service Center, did you ever imagine it would lead to where you are?
Absolutely not. Um, I I joined the Christian Service Center as a board member, became selected as the incoming president when we ousted and moved our executive director out. And then so they contacted me and said, "Hey, would you just do me a favor and just become interim executive director? And just sign checks, make sure things are going on." And I thought, what a great idea! We're going to bring a new executive director in. I'll be there as president in the transition. It'll happen great. Um, a couple of months later, they came back and said, "Would you like to interview for it?" And I said, "No, I don't want to do this job. I mean, I've got other things that I think where God is leading me. Thank you very much." Um, and then we interviewed, and they asked me what I should, what I thought about the organization, just as an organization. And I said, "You need to be a stronger um, nonprofit. We've been running at the time, we've been running much like a church." And I've said, if we're strong enough that we need to be committed as a nonprofit business that's really got a ministry behind it, and we can do both of those things. And I told them that I thought if we don't do it, then you know what, we should just close down. Um, Thinking for sure they would never pick me. And sure enough, they did. And I thought, well, okay, good. I got about a 4 or 5 year stint here that I can go on with other things I want to do in my life. And then I turn around and it's 25 years later. Um, uh, I went to the board and said, I'd like to run for public office. I'd like to run for commissioner. And so we can't do this job full time. So people got to step up and do more. And then I'm 14 years later doing both jobs at the same time. And you know, people say I'm doing a great job, but when you're in the middle of it, as you know, Jeff, you think you're wholly inadequate. Um, but we accomplished a lot, accomplished a great deal, and created a springboard for what's happening now with much of the work that Eric Gray has taken over.
Well, Robert, you said your realization with the board was that you're actually running a business. Many people don't look at nonprofits as a business, but you know as well as I do, you have all of the same pressures. You've got revenue and expenses and payroll, and you've got people to worry about, and you've got to deliver against the mission, which many other businesses don't really have. They're looking at their bottom line. Of all the things you've been able to accomplish at Christian Service Center, what is the one that makes you most proud?
I don't know. I think probably our love pantry. Um, and I think probably because we sat in the room and said, there's a lot of things going on. What can we do? And so we came back with this idea, and it came really from a former staff member who had called me to say, could we do a little small pantry for Princeton Elementary, actually? And I said, well, of course, I go to Princeton. I'm a commissioner. Princeton's in my district. Of course, we can do that. And then when we sat and talked, we said, why can't we do it for 100 schools? Why can't we do it for 200 schools? And the only thing holding us up was the resources. So as you know, we went and looked at the resources. The United Way was helpful. The Orange County School Foundation was helpful. Many other businesses came in. We created a way to work with it. We partnered with Second Harvest Food Bank and put volunteers out. And before you knew it, we had 70 schools lined up. And when I left, we had served about 850,000 meals to people who have no place to get it. Because I just kept hearing teachers say, well, I've got to go buy food for Johnny and his family. And I thought to myself, I've been around long enough. We got plenty of food in our community. We got to figure out how to get it from where it is to where it needs to be, and let us be part of that solution. So I'm most proud because we saw a need, we put together a team, we accomplished a goal, and I think from a business standpoint, that's really kind of what you're supposed to do. You know, nonprofit businesses are weird because our revenue source is not our consumer. And so we have two people that we have to respond to, where the needs are, which is our consumer, and then who's willing to fund that. And you've got to run it like a business. I mean, if McDonald's doesn't sell enough McRibs, they quit selling them because their customers didn't buy them. In our case, we got plenty of customers. We got to figure out how to get those, on the other hand, who are helping support us. You know that, and you've done a great job at the United Way from kind of making sure we're running a good, sound business at the same time, because every business has to have people who support it. But at the same time, we're accomplishing a mission and also seeing what's happening with our donors.
That is a challenge that folks like you and I have, the never-ending question of who is our customer. Is it those we're serving in the community? Because that is one of our customers. They're consuming our product or in our mission, but then you also have the donors, and they're actually paying the bills. And in most businesses, it's whoever's paying the bills is the customer. So it is a challenge that you and I face, and I think you've done a great job. Speaking of your clients, what do you think is the biggest misconception of the clients of Christian Service Center?
The biggest misconception is these are a bunch of people that lived up north and came down here. And if you've seen the figures from Second Harvest and the stuff that you've done from your studies, you see that most of those people are here, and they have been here for a while. So the fact is, they're more our neighbors than they are our visitors. People claim that these are all transients, and I mean that not because that's in a negative way, but that they come from someplace else and they arrive here. But you've seen in the work that you've done and the work that I've done, these are guys who've been here. When we started this, it became apparently obvious to me. Mayor Hood had asked me to take on a role that Bob Brown and I had kind of worked on about who are homeless, and we did that in 2005. And we couldn't figure out who they are and where they came from. So 25% had some college experience, and they were walking in a soup line. That was 2005, before all this stuff. I mean, we were building our community at the same time. So here the Great Recession hits, and now we have the pandemic, and it is 2 or 3 times worse than what it was before. But these are our neighbors, and I think that God calls us to help those that are our neighbors, because that's what He wants us to do. That's how we prove our faith.
Right. Robert, you've got a unique career blend. You've certainly run the Christian Service Center, but you've also been a city commissioner since 2006, serving in public office, as well as, again, running the nonprofit. How did you approach these two, what seemingly are different roles?
I would say you approach them a little bit of faith. We looked at where I was called to help serve. I will tell you, the short story is that when I first became a commissioner, here comes a project. A guy says, this may be one of the most important projects in our entire downtown. And I went, okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And he's talked to tell me about it. And I'm just kind of looking at him. And I said, I apologize. I have to leave a little early because I have to go over and feed daily bread. And he goes, what's daily bread? And I said, well, we feed downtown about 300 people a day, a noontime meal, who can't go anyplace else. So I know what you think is really important. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and feed 300 people who don't have a place to get a meal. So I'll catch up with you by phone later on. And you should have seen his eyes. They were like, oh my gosh. And I'm thinking to myself, isn't that what we're supposed to? I mean, we're supposed to be serving in a whole variety of ways. And it kind of tempers my judgment when I think of this, because we all make a living, and I'm not trying to hurt anybody who's the developer. That's kind of the key, it's part of what we do. But there are things I think deep down inside that are a little bit more important than that. And I really think it's giving back to the community. That's what our parents taught us. It was, I can remember going to stuff very early, my young child. My father was a founder of the Orlando Union Rescue Mission. He was also a founder of the Christian Service Center, which I find out years later when I joined after his passing. And so we were supposed to do these kind of things. My mother served. Every time I turned around, she was doing something in the community. I didn't feel like growing up that we were being neglected. I felt like that was her investment to us, was to make the community better. And so I think my kids feel the same way. I'll tell you a short story, and if I can get through it without having too much emotion. When my daughter got married, she decided that she wanted to do something special. I thought, oh, what do you want to do? I don't care. And she decided to have her bridesmaids party at the Christian Service Center. And the first thing she did was serve daily bread. And so you can imagine, you've been to Disney where you've seen the groups of bridesmaids walking around doing stuff. That's exactly what happened at Daily Bread. Here is my daughter, maid of honor, and 6 or 7 other people in line, all dressed for their bridesmaids party around serving daily bread. And I thought, my parents would be proud because that legacy has been passed on.
Well, Robert, that speaks to you and Ann as well, and the parents you are and the way you raised your own children. And it speaks to you and your character. And that's why we are so proud to award you with the Changemaker Legacy Award. It's not the one act, it's not the one thing, or what have you done for the community lately. It's for a lifetime of giving back, remembering where you come from, and heeding your own blessings that you have been blessed. And we thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you today. I think it's easy for everyone to see why you are this year's Changemaker Legacy honoree. Thank you for talking with me today, and thank you for all you and your family have done. We are so blessed to have you.
Thank you, Jeff, and it's an honor to be part of this. I can't thank you enough. Can't thank the people at the Christian Service Center who have been kind enough to allow me to lead over there, as well as those who have voted me into office for God only knows why 4 times. But I appreciate your leadership because I think it means a lot to our community, and I'm honored. And if it means somebody's going to serve because they see me, then that's what it's for. That's especially this time of Thanksgiving, especially this time of year, it's a chance for us to give back. This is a way that y'all have done that, and I'm so honored that you would have even thought of me. So thank you very much.
No, Robert, the legacy is alive and well. Your parents would be proud of your daughter, but they'd also be proud of you. You've continued their legacy, and obviously your children have as well. Again, Central Florida is blessed to have the Stuart family among us, and for all you've done. And we want to thank you personally for all that you have done. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah.